Okay, next one is the album Have You Lost Your Mind Yet by Fantastic Negrito. Um, I can't remember quite what I described him in the intro. Um, some kind of shaman. I don't know if that's the best description. So, Have You Lost Your Mind Yet is the third album from Oakland, California's Fantastic Negrito, and the follow up to 2018's Grammy winning Please Don't Be Dead. There's a full and fairly short review of Please Don't Be Dead over on the website, so check that out if you're interested. But I essentially described it as an infectious mix of soul, funk, R&B, blues, and roots music. So, Have You Lost Your Mind Yet is also pretty much that. And the opener, Chocolate Samurai, opens with this kind of swinging funk and swagger of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Higher Ground. And Negrito's vocals channel the likes of James Brown and Bobby Womack. And it kind of sets the scene quite well. It's quite a fun, stylish opener, loads of grooves, Lenny Kravitz kind of guitar licks and sort of soulful organ flourishes. So I'm interested. I mean, I've obviously, I don't know if you've heard of Fantastic Negrito before. I'm a big fan of his previous album. So I'm interested to kind of hear your take on this.
I quite enjoyed it. I did enjoy it, but I suppose it probably makes sense to describe how I've described Chocolate Samurai. So I've kind of described it as being a real kind of smorgasbord of blues, jazz, and roots music, complete with kind of smatterings of kind of gospel-esque type backing vocals, funky guitar licks, like you said, piano, and some hand clips thrown in there for good measure. I found the whole album really to be quite broad and experimental. Much in the same way that I feel the likes of kind of Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention were.
Okay.
Back in the kind of 1970s and 80s. Not really so much in terms of their sound, but just its kind of range. I felt that a lot of the tracks felt quite larger than life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Almost like big musical kind of Broadway numbers.
Okay.
Particularly the likes of Chocolate Samurai for one, and also the fifth track in the album, Searching for Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah.
that very much felt like a Frank Zappa song. Kind of had major kind of Bobby Brown Goes Down off the kind of Shake Your Booty vibes for me. The opening bars of the kind of keyboard or synthesizer has this kind of real panto villain theme tune vibe to it for me. I felt as if it was really quite tongue in cheek, quite funny. Although I know that the album has a lot to do with or explores a lot of themes of kind of mental health and stuff like that. So maybe it's not fair to really say that. I really enjoyed the kind of the rap within that song as well. Again, just the kind of delivery of it, the kind of straightforward delivery of it. What was your thoughts on it?
I quite like this. I'm not quite as enthused by it as I was Please Don't Be Dead.
Right.
I found that to be, they're quite similar, I suppose. And Please Don't Be Dead, I just found to be really immediate. And whilst there are songs on this album that are immediate and quite good, I just don't think they're maybe as strong as some of the ones that are on Please Don't Be Dead. I mean, Chocolate Samurai is a really good opener. I'm So Happy I Cry is a really good follow-up as well. and it sounds a bit like something that could have ended up on Bobby Womack's "The Bravest Man in the Universe," which was
Right.
one of
Okay.
the 20 albums. So there's reasons that I like Fantastic Negrito. I mean, his vocals are quite similar to Bobby Womack as well. But he's got a really great vocal range. I mean, on "I'm So Happy I Cry," he sounds almost like Freddie Mercury at one point. And he can go from being really gritty and sort of deep to these kind of higher ranges. So I think he's a very good singer. I think he's also a very good guitar player. With the guitar licks and the riffs that are found on here. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. I just some of the I don't think the songs are as strong as the previous effort, but like I was saying, the first four, maybe 5 or 6 tracks are pretty good. Searching for Captain Savaho is definitely a highlight.
Yeah.
Like it's really sort of down and dirty, grimy, funky. It's got a sort of an almost 70s porno groove to it as well. And the chorus is really cool. He's just like, let him in, ooh, let him in. I'm sitting outside with a shotgun guarding my emotional door. Like, just really cool stuff. There's Your Sex is Overrated, which is quite a kind of jazz club crooner. It's very similar to the likes of It's a Man's World by James Brown and the Famous Flames. So there's lots of like soul and R&B and jazz and just it's a very cool listen. But there are a few weak points. I think King Frustration is a little bit weak. These Are My Friends is maybe a little bit weak as well. But I don't think anyone's gonna. If you decide to put this on in a party and just put it on the background, I don't think anyone would complain. I think it's a pretty good listen. A fun listen. But I don't know. I don't know if my expectations were too high coming in off an album that I really really like, and it's slightly disappointed me. But it's still really good. I think the closing track, Platypus Dipster, is one of the best tracks as well. It's got quite a grinding guitar tone, a sort of jiving beat to it. So it's just. There's nothing as immediately iconic as some of the tracks from Please Don't Be Dead, like A Boy Named Andrew, Transgender Biscuits, A Cold November Street, or The Duffler. It's similar stuff. It's sort of more of the same, but it's just not as strong for me. So I feel like I'm talking it down a wee bit, but it's still a good album, I think.
Can you see where I'm coming from about them being kind of almost like larger than life, quite avant-garde songs? Because that's what I got. I mean, I would agree. You know, I mean, I'm not au fait with some of his previous stuff. I mean, I think there's a lot to appreciate on this album, but I don't think they're maybe necessarily immediately apparent. I mean, there's some really, really good moments in there. Yeah. Like some of the guitar solos are phenomenal. I can't quite remember. I think it's the 6th track. Your Sex is Overrated. I mean, it's probably has the kind of the favourite bridge on the album, you know, that you get around the kind of 2:22 mark, where you get this kind of beautifully smoky jazz cafe-esque guitar solo that just kind of smoulders away. It's really quite nice. And there's other times, I think it's in one of the singles from the album, is it How Long? Maybe. Which quite enjoyed. So yeah, the third track of the album, How Long, that was released as a single rather, on the 15th of May. It's kind of this really kind of heartfelt R&B number, and it was probably one of my kind of favourite tracks in the album. I kind of described it as there being this kind of really standout moment around the kind of 250 mark where you get this really sorrowful kind of bluesy guitar solo, which I absolutely loved and really got into. But then I couldn't help but like find it quite funny. Like there's these kind of, how have I described it? So kind of following kind of 30 seconds or so where you get, I think it must be Fantastic Negrito himself, kind of humming, which is fine, but then there's this kind of overlaid recording of him singing what sounds like him singing, is it laddie laddie la la laddie laddie la or something like that, and I just thought, it was like, what's this all about, man? Like, it did kind of ruin it a wee bit for me. Like, I found it hard to take that seriously, but then I don't know what the rest of his stuff's like. And I mean, it was elements like that that kind of reminded me of Frank Zappa, that was full of the kind of tongue-in-cheek innuendo and, weird and wonderful bits here and there.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a lot of relatively serious parts on here.
Yeah.
It's all intermixed with, like, at times, complete madness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But which I think is what I like about Fantastic Negrito, that he is just a sort of mad character, but he's able to write some real kind of emotion into some of his songs, alongside the kind of like weird stories and kind of madness. I think that he just did it a little bit better on his previous album, which I've said a few times. That's not to say this isn't good. It's just not as good as I'd hoped it would be, and maybe that's just, I've probably not listened to this as many times as I would have liked either. But I'm going to keep listening to it, but I'm not sure it'll necessarily change my opinion of it. But
yeah,
I'd say it's probably, for me, a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. I've given it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, as I said, it's, I don't know how to take it because I don't know his previous stuff. What I've written here is, as I said earlier on, I think there's a lot to appreciate on this album. I don't think it's maybe necessarily immediately apparent. It's maybe not as readily accessible as some of the likes of the other albums we've covered, i.e. Creeper, which I think you can kind of hook on to almost immediately. However, I say that as someone who mostly listens to kind of alternative and indie music. The album kind of spans a variety of different genres, kind of most notably the likes of kind of jazz, blues, R&B. There's a wee bit of kind of roots music in there as well. So I suppose if you're already into that, this will be right up your street. It's quite broad, quite experimental, I found. So yeah, but maybe just not really my cup of tea. Maybe not really my kind of thing. So I've given it a 6 out of 10.
Fair enough. And I mean, I probably wouldn't normally say this is my cup of tea, really. I just, I think it's just, I came across his previous album. It was really, really good. And I think, it doesn't really matter what you're into if something's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
This is kind of, like I said before, I think I had high hopes for this to be as good or better, and it's maybe not really delivered for me personally, but it's still a good album, a good listen, and if you're into the sort of genres that we've listed there, then you should have a good time with it.
Cool.
So that was Have You Lost Your Mind Yet by Fantastic Negrito.
After the rain is gone. Tell me all about me. All up in my space trying to find me. What is this blues thing, man? What is this blues thing, man? Tricky, 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 tricky rabbit.